The two astronauts stranded on the Boeing Starliner have begun to report a strange noise from the spacecraft itself. The Guardian is reporting this, Space.com is reporting this. Nobody knows exactly what the noise is, but you can listen to it live here on Threads. So instead of me reporting, we're going to take just a moment to listen into the astronauts and get a feel for what in the world this mystery noise might be.
Houston's with you, Butch. Go ahead.
There's a strange noise coming through the speaker. And I didn't know if you could connect into the Starliner and let me keep mic and let you hear it. I don't know what's making it, but I don't know if it's something that maybe is connected between here and there, making that happen. But anyway, can you do that?
We can configure that, Butch. Give us a minute, and I'll call you back when it's ready.
Okay.
Station Houston on 2. We're configured for audio via hardline and CST. If you want to give us a call.
Okay, I'm in Starliner.
At negative, Butch, we did not hear any. Copy.
Hear that?
At negative, Butch, we did not hear anything.
That.
All right, Butch, that one came through. It was kind of like a pulsing noise, almost like a sonar ping.
Yeah, I'll do it one more time, and I'll let y'all scratch your heads and see if you can figure out what's going on. Here we go. All right, over to you. I'll figure it out.
Yep, good recording. Thanks, Butch.
All right, personally, I've got no idea what that is. It is a sonar-like pulse or ping. NASA doesn't know what's making it. Boeing doesn't know what's making it. The astronauts don't know what's making it. You know me, I want to say aliens, but that's just a little bit optimistic, right? Either way, it's a fun space mystery, and hopefully next year when these astronauts are finally able to return home, they'll have a whale of a tale to tell about it. The human race might be running out of time because fungus is learning to drive in biohybrid robots. And what you're looking at here in this first image is a biohybrid robot with the white petri dish in the middle being the fungus brain controller. And I do absolutely have a video of this thing moving, but first I just wanted to point out that prior to this, the only fungus that I was aware of that had a license to drive was Toad in Mario Kart. And Toad drove very aggressively, so I'm not sure where this is going. I had a lot of like crazy ideas on what it might look like if a fungus is driving a car, but let's take a look at how it actually looks. Now they built a robot with wheels and they built a robot with legs. The one with legs is pretty wild here. It responds to stimuli from like ultraviolet light. It'll move in the direction that they shine the light, and this is sped up really fast because fungus doesn't think very quickly. It's kind of a slow species, so it does look a little bit fake and stop motion. You can see they're hitting them with the ultraviolet light to make it go forward. The fungus is not a speedy driver, no matter what I'm concerned about. It's no Toad from Mario Kart. But let's jump into the actual science that explains what in the world is going on. So this is part of a new kind of biohybrid robot. We've done this with jellyfish and sea slug mussels and a couple of other things, using the organic parts as a mechanical part and usually having a mechanical controller like a chip telling it to contract. In this case, they're kind of doing the opposite. And they are using fungi. These fun little guys communicate using electrical signals sent through their mycelium, which is their root system. So the team grew the mycelium directly into the electronics of a robot, tapping into those natural signals to drive the machine. And then they created an electrical interface that accurately records the electrophysiological activity from the mycelia, processes it, and converts it into a digital signal that the robot can understand. So then what it does is when the robots are exposed to light, it can sense the electrical activity in the fungus in response to that light, and then the robot is the one that makes the decision to walk forward. So basically, they're using the fungus not as much as a brain and a little bit more as a sensor to indicate, okay, what we're looking for is this way, and then the robot understands the direction and does all the actual moving. Here's a fun fact that I didn't know. Apple supposedly has a no villain clause such that no actor can legally use an iPhone in a film if they're portrayed as a villain. They also can't use the device irresponsibly. So I've never heard of this, but I know that Apple is very protective of its brand. So let's dive in and see what's going on. The source on this one is Knives Out director Rian Johnson, who alleged that Apple says villains cannot use iPhones on screen. Fantastic director, just not good for Star Wars. In 2020, the director alleged that Apple had product stipulations disallowing villains. In 2020's Knives Out, Rian Johnson was the first major filmmaker to speak publicly about Apple's alleged product stipulations. And since then, eagle-eyed viewers have noticed that villains in a lot of movies don't actually use iPhones, but rather devices strikingly similar to iPhones. So what is the no villain clause? Well, allegedly, Apple does not allow villains or bad guys to use their products on screen, so I guess every screen villain is an Android peasant these days, or only Android users commit crimes. They do have this public guidelines for using Apple trademarks and copyrights, and it does stipulate that the Apple product does need to be shown in the best light or manner that reflects positively upon Apple and its subsidiary brands. It says you may not use an Apple trademark or any Apple-owned graphic signal logo in a disparaging manner. So is the no villains clause real? Because right now it's just rumored. Well, Apple has never confirmed or denied this. They have no opinions whatsoever. They don't put out any public statements. All of the contracts with filmmakers are private. And so far, only a handful of directors have even proposed this or said this was happening. Another one was prop master Heidi Coleto, said that Apple is very specific. I got a script once where an actress was supposed to be looking at her phone while she's driving drunk and crashes her car. They wanted to see a text message pop up, and I had to be like, well, we can't do that because we've established this character with an Apple phone, and we can't have her driving drunk with an iPhone. They'll never work with me again. So they do go on throughout this article to give some extra examples. There are some workarounds for the no villains clause. There are people who are more dubious in nature. There are drama films where it's a little bit harder to say who is and isn't the villain, mysteries, and of course devices that look extremely similar to iPhones. But it makes me wonder in future movies, if it's like in anime, you know, the squintier the eyes, the more likely they are to be a villain. I wonder if it's going to be like in the future, when you spot that everybody's got iPhones except one guy's got an Android, that guy's going to be the villain. There has been a major breakthrough in plastic recycling as researchers have unlocked a cheap way to vaporize plastic and use it to make more plastic, thus making plastic similarly recyclable to aluminum and enabling a circular economy for plastics. And I love the image that they chose here because this is what every waste bin in my city looks like. And we do have a video of them recycling and going through this process, which I'll show you in a minute as I try to explain everything. So it is a new catalytic process that can vaporize the polyethylene, which is soft plastic, and polypropylene, the hard plastics, and these two together dominate trash piles, and the new catalytic process converts them into propylene and other hydrocarbon gases, both of which are used to manufacture virgin plastics again, thus creating a circular economy for plastic, which is extremely impressive. And this is a big deal because polyethylene and polypropylene plastics account for about 2/3 of global plastic waste, and about 80% of them end up incinerated, which is microplastics in the environment, put in landfills, litter, etc., and it just makes a huge mess. So let's go ahead and I'm going to make sure this is muted and play the video so that you can see them recycling as I explain what's going on. So they use two different catalysts to break down the polyethylene and polypropylene waste chemically. The first one cleaves the polymer chains, leaving reactive ends. If you think about them as like long chains of zippers or long strands of things that bind together. And once the larger reactive ends are exposed, there is a second catalytic process that effectively unzips those chains by repeatedly exposing the reactive ends to ethylene gas, literally working up a zipper. Like, it's kind of awesome and impressive in a lot of ways. And the resulting output of all of this is propylene and propene molecules. And another useful byproduct is valuable isobutylene gas. All three of these are used in the chemical industry to manufacture various forms of plastic. So this is about as green as it possibly gets. I've done a lot about plastic pollution and plastic recycling and microplastics. This is probably the biggest plastic recycling breakthrough that I've covered in a very long time. And the important thing is it's cheap and it recycles as effectively as aluminum, so there's an incentive to do it.